What if the two supplements, sitting in your cabinet right now, the ones you've been taking separately, actually work better as a team than they do alone? Millions of people take L-theanine for calm focus. Millions more take magnesium for sleep and muscle relaxation. But almost nobody talks about what happens when you take them together. Today we're going to answer that question honestly, using real science, not hype, and by the end, you'll know exactly whether this combination makes sense for you. Welcome back to the channel. If you're someone who cares about feeling calmer, sleeping better, and understanding what you're actually putting into your body, you're in the right place. Today we're diving deep into a question that comes up constantly in the comments and in wellness communities everywhere. Can you take L-theanine and magnesium together? And if so, is it actually a good idea? Before we get into the details, let's talk about why this question even matters. We're living through what a lot of researchers are calling a stress and sleep crisis. Surveys from organizations like the American Psychological Association have repeatedly shown that a huge portion of adults report feeling overwhelmed by stress on a regular basis. At the same time, sleep researchers estimate that a significant percentage of adults don't get the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep most nights. So it makes total sense that people are turning to natural options like L-theanine and magnesium instead of reaching straight for prescription medication. But here's the thing. When you start combining supplements, even natural ones, you want to know what you're doing and why. So let's break this down properly. First, let's talk about what L-theanine actually is, because there's a lot of confusion out there. L-theanine is an amino acid. It's not a chemical cooked up in a lab. It's found naturally in tea leaves, particularly green tea, and in small amounts in certain mushrooms. When you drink a cup of green tea, you're getting a modest dose of L-theanine, which is part of why tea tends to give you a calmer kind of alertness compared to the jittery buzz you might get from coffee. Here's what's happening on a biological level, explained simply. L-theanine crosses the blood-brain barrier, meaning it can actually get into your brain and influence brain activity. Once there, research suggests it increases alpha brain wave activity. Alpha waves are associated with a state of relaxed alertness, kind of like the mental state you're in when you're calmly focused on something, not stressed, not zoned out, just present and clear. Studies published in journals like the Journal of Clinical Psychiatry and other peer-reviewed nutrition journals have found that L-theanine may help reduce subjective feelings of stress and anxiety without causing drowsiness. That's actually one of the most interesting things about it. Unlike a lot of calming substances, L-theanine doesn't necessarily make you sleepy. It just seems to take the edge off. There's also research looking at L-theanine's effect on sleep quality, and while it's not a sedative in the traditional sense, some studies have found that taking it before bed may help people fall asleep more easily and experience deeper, more restful sleep, likely because it lowers that background hum of mental stress that keeps so many of us staring at the ceiling at night. Now let's shift over to magnesium, because this mineral deserves way more attention than it usually gets. Magnesium is involved in more than 300 different enzymatic reactions in your body. That's not an exaggeration, that's according to research compiled by the National Institutes of Health's Office of Dietary Supplements. It plays a role in muscle function, nerve transmission, blood sugar regulation, blood pressure, and yes, sleep and relaxation. Here's the part that matters most for our topic today. Magnesium helps regulate neurotransmitters that send signals throughout your nervous system and brain. It's particularly involved in regulating a receptor system called GABA, which is your brain's primary calming neurotransmitter system. Think of GABA as your brain's natural brake pedal. When GABA activity is healthy, your nervous system can wind down properly. Magnesium also helps regulate the stress hormone system, and some research has linked low magnesium levels to higher levels of the stress hormone cortisol. And here's something a lot of people don't realize. A surprisingly large number of adults don't get enough magnesium from their diet. Estimates suggest that a significant portion of people in Western countries fall short of the recommended daily intake, largely due to modern diets that are heavy in processed foods and low in magnesium-rich foods like leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and whole grains. So when people take a magnesium supplement, especially forms like magnesium glycinate or magnesium threonate, they're often filling a genuine nutritional gap, not just chasing a trend. So now we've got two supplements, both associated with calm, both associated with better sleep, both working through slightly different mechanisms in the brain and body. Naturally, people wonder, why not take them together? Let's get into the actual science of combining them, because this is where things get genuinely interesting. L-theanine primarily works by promoting alpha brain waves and gently influencing neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, while also potentially having a mild effect on GABA. Magnesium works more directly on regulating GABA receptors and calming an overactive nervous system, along with supporting the body's stress response system as a whole. Because these two compounds work through different complementary pathways rather than the exact same mechanism, many integrative health practitioners and sleep specialists consider this combination reasonable and, for many people, even synergistic. There isn't a huge body of large-scale clinical trials specifically studying the combination of L-theanine and magnesium together as a stack, and it's important to be honest about that rather than overstate the evidence. Most of the research we have looks at each ingredient separately. However, because both are generally recognized as safe when taken at appropriate doses, and because their mechanisms don't conflict with each other, there's no strong scientific reason to believe combining them is dangerous. In fact, some small studies and clinical formulations have started combining magnesium, L-theanine, and other calming nutrients like vitamin B6, specifically because researchers believe the combination may support relaxation and healthy sleep more effectively than either one alone. Let's talk about what this might actually feel like if you decide to try it. Many people who combine these two report a sense of calm that doesn't feel forced or heavily sedated. Instead of feeling knocked out the way you might with something like melatonin in a high dose, or drowsy the way you might with an antihistamine-based sleep aid, people often describe the L-theanine and magnesium combination as helping them feel like their mind finally stops racing, while their body physically relaxes at the same time. That combination, a quiet mind and a relaxed body, is often exactly what people are chasing when stress or occasional sleeplessness is getting in the way of a good night's rest. Now, let's talk about the benefits in a bit more structured way, because it's worth understanding what each one is actually bringing to the table. When it comes to stress and anxiety support, L-theanine's biggest contribution seems to be calming mental chatter and reducing the physiological stress response, things like a racing heart or that jittery on-edge feeling, without making you feel foggy or unmotivated. Magnesium, meanwhile, seems to support the body's ability to physically relax, easing muscle tension and helping regulate the hormonal stress response over time, especially in people who are deficient. When it comes to sleep, L-theanine may help you fall asleep by quieting racing thoughts, while magnesium may help improve the depth and quality of that sleep by supporting the nervous system's transition into a more parasympathetic or rest and digest state. Some research has specifically looked at magnesium supplementation in older adults with insomnia and found improvements in sleep time, sleep efficiency, and how early people woke up in the morning. There's also emerging interest in how this combination might support people dealing with the kind of low-grade, chronic stress that doesn't quite reach the level of a diagnosable anxiety disorder, but still makes daily life feel heavier than it should. This is sometimes called subclinical stress, and it's incredibly common, especially among people juggling demanding jobs, caregiving responsibilities, or just the general pace of modern life. Now, let's talk about something equally important, which is safety and potential downsides, because no honest health video would be complete without this part. Let's start with L-theanine. It's generally very well tolerated, and serious side effects are rare. Some people report mild headaches, dizziness, or stomach discomfort, though this is uncommon and usually associated with taking unusually high doses. Because L-theanine can have a mild calming effect, some people notice it makes them feel slightly more relaxed than expected, so it's smart to see how your body responds before, say, taking it right before you need to drive or operate machinery. Magnesium, on the other hand, does have some more well-documented side effects, particularly at higher doses. The most common one is digestive upset, especially diarrhea, and this tends to happen more with certain forms of magnesium, like magnesium citrate or magnesium oxide, compared to gentler forms like magnesium glycinate. This is actually why so many people specifically choose magnesium glycinate when their goal is relaxation and sleep rather than, say, using magnesium citrate as a laxative. Taking excessive amounts of magnesium can, in rare cases, particularly in people with kidney problems, lead to a condition called magnesium toxicity, which can cause symptoms like nausea, low blood pressure, muscle weakness, and in severe cases, more serious cardiac issues. This is quite rare in healthy individuals with normal kidney function who stick to standard supplement doses, but it's an important reason why people with kidney disease should always consult their doctor before supplementing with magnesium. It's also worth mentioning drug interactions, because this is genuinely important and often overlooked. Magnesium can interact with certain antibiotics, reducing their absorption if taken too close together, so timing matters if you're on antibiotics. It can also interact with certain blood pressure medications, diuretics, and medications for osteoporosis. L-theanine, while generally safer in terms of interactions, can theoretically enhance the effects of blood pressure medications or sedatives because of its calming properties. So if you're taking anything that affects blood pressure or the central nervous system, it's worth having a conversation with your doctor or pharmacist first. If you're pregnant, breastfeeding, managing a chronic health condition, or taking prescription medication of any kind, this is exactly the kind of decision where a quick conversation with your doctor or pharmacist can save you a lot of guesswork. Supplements interact with individual health situations in ways that are hard to predict from a YouTube video, no matter how well researched it is, and that's not us being overly cautious, that's just responsible health information. Let's talk practically now. If someone wanted to try this combination, what does that actually look like in terms of general guidance? Typical L-theanine doses studied in research range from about 100 to 400 milligrams, often taken about 30 to 60 minutes before the desired calming effect is needed, whether that's before a stressful meeting or before bed. Magnesium doses vary quite a bit depending on the form, but many people looking for relaxation and sleep support use somewhere between 200 and 400 milligrams of a well-absorbed form like magnesium glycinate, typically taken in the evening. Now, this is general educational information based on how these supplements are commonly studied and used, not a personalized recommendation, and dosing can vary significantly based on your age, weight, health status, and what else you're taking. This is really where working with a healthcare provider becomes valuable, because they can help you figure out the right form and dose for your specific situation, and they can check whether it makes sense given any medications or health conditions you have. One thing worth mentioning is timing and consistency. Unlike a fast-acting medication, magnesium, in particular, tends to work best when you're consistently getting enough of it over time, rather than expecting an immediate dramatic effect from a single dose. If you're using it to correct a dietary shortfall, which is genuinely common, it may take a few weeks of consistent intake before you notice a meaningful difference in things like muscle tension or sleep quality. L-theanine, on the other hand, tends to have a more immediate same-day effect on how calm and focused you feel, which is part of why some people take it in the morning alongside their coffee, specifically to smooth out caffeine jitters while keeping the alertness. That actually brings up an interesting side note. L-theanine is often paired with caffeine, not just magnesium, because research has shown that this particular combination may improve focus and attention while reducing the jittery, anxious side effects that caffeine alone can cause in some people. So if you're someone who already takes L-theanine with your morning coffee for focus, and you're now considering magnesium in the evening for relaxation and sleep, you're essentially using the same supplement, L-theanine, in two different contexts throughout your day, which a lot of people find works quite well with their natural rhythm of alert mornings and winding down evenings. Let's also touch on food sources, because supplements aren't the only way to get these nutrients into your system, and for some people, a food-first approach might be preferable or could complement supplementation. Magnesium-rich foods include things like spinach, almonds, cashews, black beans, avocado, and dark chocolate. L-theanine is mainly found in tea, particularly green and black tea, with matcha typically containing a notably higher concentration since you're consuming the whole tea leaf rather than just a steeped infusion. Some people find that a diet naturally rich in these foods, combined with lower doses of supplementation if needed, gives them a nice middle ground rather than relying entirely on pills or powders. So, let's bring this all together. Based on what current research tells us, taking L-theanine and magnesium together appears to be generally safe for most healthy adults, and the two supplements work through different complementary mechanisms rather than competing or canceling each other out. L-theanine tends to support a calm, clear mind by promoting relaxed alertness and easing mental stress, while magnesium supports the body's physical relaxation response and plays a foundational role in nervous system health, especially for people who aren't getting enough of it through diet alone. Together, they may offer a more well-rounded approach to managing stress and supporting healthy sleep than either one alone, though it's worth being honest that large-scale studies specifically testing this exact combination are still limited, so a lot of what we know comes from understanding each ingredient individually and how their mechanisms complement each other. As with any supplement decision, individual results can vary quite a bit. What works beautifully for one person's stress levels or sleep might do very little for someone else, simply because everyone's baseline nutrient levels, stress physiology, and health circumstances are different. That's not a weakness of these supplements, that's just how biology works. If you're dealing with chronic stress, ongoing sleep problems, or symptoms that are significantly affecting your quality of life, supplements like these can be a helpful piece of the puzzle, but they work best as part of a bigger picture that includes things like consistent sleep habits, managing stress through lifestyle changes, regular movement, and a generally nutrient-dense diet. And if your stress or sleep issues are severe or persistent, that's a sign it's worth talking to a doctor, because there may be underlying factors worth addressing directly, rather than only treating the symptoms with supplements. The bottom line here is this. Current evidence suggests that combining L-theanine and magnesium is a reasonable, low-risk option for many healthy adults looking for extra support with stress and sleep. But it's not a guaranteed fix. It's not a replacement for medical care when needed, and it's always smart to start with lower doses, pay attention to how your body responds, and loop in a healthcare provider, especially if you're pregnant, managing a health condition, or taking other medications. I hope this gave you a clear, honest, and genuinely useful breakdown of what the science actually says, without any of the exaggerated claims you might find elsewhere. If you found this helpful, do me a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow and lets me know you want more videos like this one. If you're new here, consider subscribing, because we break down health topics like this every single week using real research instead of hype. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you tried L-theanine, magnesium, or both together? What did you notice? Drop your experience below. It might help someone else who's on the fence about trying this combination themselves. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you